Hello. Welcome to another live. I honestly didn't think that was I was going to do a live today because I don't feel really good. I am, you know, inundated in this hoodie, but it's in honor of Rachel Kirkconnell because this is how I found out about the Happy Camper, and it's a lovely cause and a lovely sweatshirt and sweatpants, sweatsuit situation. Anyways, oh gosh, it's interesting today. I don't know if I'm going to get all the way into the Rachel and Matt, the Rachel's podcast response to their breakup. But I saw some things around Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni case situation that, yeah, I really needed to, I guess, talk about. And especially not feeling that great, I thought going live is like the best way. Sorry, like I'm moving. You're on a yoga block right now. I'm I'm clearly not not really producing these lives. Puyuts. Um, so I want to talk about Taylor Swift distancing herself apparently from Blake Lively. I want to talk about the New York Times, more metadata potentially, but my thoughts about this metadata from October that it seems like it's not. I have thoughts that might disprove what people are seeing, or disprove what people think they're seeing with the metadata dates, and then with this one specific date, and then Dr. Leslie Dobson's TikTok. That this is what inspired me to get on here and do this live because and I wish I no one's on here right now. I wish I had the audience from last night at least because I feel this is why I went back to marriage and family therapy masters. This is why I did my attachment style course and became a certified coach in that. This is why I was hesitant and not sure how to get into that space because it's so easy to post things online and create misinformation well meaningly. I wouldn't say she's well meaningly making at least this TikTok. I haven't seen the rest. I don't know her style and everything, but everything about it screams influencer and not therapist, which it can be a fine line, but not necessarily. It She said some very harmful things, not just harmful to this case, because screw this case, but as a psychologist to say the things that she said, it was very harmful to to people that are not in this case, to you and me, to regular people. And so that's really why I'm this is the main focus of this, I guess. It might not be a huge big, time-wise focus, but it's like the one bullet point in this whole live that I just really want to be heard on. And I feel like this is, playing a dangerous game. As a therapist, you shouldn't do this. Um, and then a little dig at Dave Neal, tiny little dig. I don't think, especially now that more that I think about it, I love Dave Neal so much, and his coverage of everything is so fair and so nice. But just because he had this psychologist TikTok on his show, but there's another psychologist that has talked about this case and has educated her audience of how to spot manipulation in the media and people around you, etc. Um, I'm gonna call him out for a little bit. And then, yeah, if I get to it, if I feel like this is the right space and the right time to talk about the Rachel Kirkconnell and Matt James breakup, bombshell podcast interview. I have maybe unpopular opinions on that. But yeah, so to start with the Taylor Swift of it all, there's an article from geo.tv. Haven't even heard of them. I don't know if this was the original article, but they definitely have this art. This is where I found this as soon as I saw chatter online, whispers online. And the quotes from her side, from Taylor Swift's side, don't sound good. But again, who is GOTV? So let's take it with a grain of salt. But later on, Dana has a live that will talk about this. I'm curious what she has found out. So basically, this says over this whole Khaleesi text, an insider reported to the Daily Mail. Oh, there's a Daily Mail article. For the time being, she is taking Taylor Swift is taking a step back from Blake because she doesn't want to get tangled in this more than she already has, which is far more than she ever needed to be. I think everyone would say that. Yeah, everyone has said that. Clearly, she's like distancing herself, even with the initial one. She was supporting her. That's what I read into her initial statement, that she was supporting Blake, but she doesn't want to get involved. Her friends also think that Blake's "I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have dragons" text to Justin was uncool. I won because the other source quotation was also like, "Are these all just like teenagers talking? So uncool." Like, I'm sorry, that just like, come on. You can speak professionally. You can speak like Taylor would speak, you know? Anyways, so the text was uncool and unnecessary because she has essentially used it as an intimidation. She was like Taylor Swift was essentially used as an intimidation tactic. She was referred to as some kind of pet or possession. Yeah, that part, I forget who pointed this out. Not many people pointed this out, from what I've seen on their reactions, but that part was something that was interesting as someone who is so strong and tries to strengthen herself as a human being and as a woman, and to strengthen to like have that not even message or platform, kind of, but I feel like that's her inner mission, especially with how she perceives, and kind of rightly so perceived, all the battle that she had with her records and so forth. So yeah, to be seen as a pet or possession, as someone's dragons, that she's just there to fight this other person's battles. I can also see it though, from Blake's side of things, or from someone's side of things that has friends. Like, I can see them interchanging those roles. But yeah, it was intimidation. It was an intimidated text message. Intimidating. The source continued, Taylor shouldn't even be involved in this at all. She was only going over to visit Blake and Ryan with the understanding that the meeting would be over. While a second source stated Taylor was politely backed away, has politely backed away, sorry, away from it all. She is conscious of her own image and hates that she was ever even mentioned. It wasn't just the text though. And this is where this other part, I think this is 100% transparently true. She's conscious of her own image and hates that she was even mentioned. Yeah. However, Taylor, even though you might feel like, whoa, maybe you were blindsided by the Khaleesi text and how your friend sees you, that can be true, but it can also be true that you were involved in the auditioning process, because Justin himself said that he had to show, or he had to, or wanted to, or felt like whatever, but he ended up showing you the Isabella's audition tape to you and Blake. So that was before, or maybe not before the Khaleesi text, but that was like around that time. And this meeting was over. Yeah, but even if you thought you were going there just to hang out, and you were there and you're just encouraging your friend, I don't know. It seemed like the texts that Justin wrote were real. So he perceived it as an intimidation, whether it was Blake's intimidation using Taylor's name and Taylor's like power, like see what she said or whatever. I don't know. But the thing is, like, Taylor was involved more, unless there was a miscommunication and Justin didn't specifically send that tape to Taylor, but Blake said that, oh yeah, Taylor agreed or whatever, and maybe Taylor was just like roped into that by Blake. So, you know, I don't know, but that's interesting. It is definitely interesting her choice to back away. It's interesting, you know who your friends are really are when there's a lawsuit that you have against someone and they have against you. And what do your friends do? Do they support you? Or do they back up like, oh, well, actually, I don't know. But I think that Khaleesi text she didn't know about, and I think that's what changed. I think she would have probably backed Blake up a lot more had that not been the case. Even if she was mentioned, she could have said like a statement, kind of like the end of this statement, but or like the one that she had initially. But I think that Khaleesi thing really was like, no, because she's a human being and she has feelings and she has her own journey. And, I'm not a huge fan of some of the hypocrisy that I've seen from her and stuff, but she's human. And I think that that would hurt anyone to be used like that when you think this is your friend. Unless, like I said, they're interchanging those dragon roles. But that she would have to feel that would be true. Like, oh yeah, she's been my dragon sometimes, I've been hers, etc. Now, the next piece of story is the NYT, and this is such a small one because New York Times, it's not looking good for them though. I don't know legally, but they definitely lost a lot of credibility, and they're losing a lot of credibility. Can they come back? A lot easier than Blake Lively at this point. We don't have that much smoking guns and whatever. So, the New York Times, someone posted Leanne Newton and messaged Colonel Kurtz 99, which I hate. Like, I really am so curious about her videos, but I hate how she cuts them off. And it's like, and even like quality of the image and stuff, which Luke was talking, but like, are we are we in like the 2000s, early 2000s, when we're cutting off our YouTube just to get more views and just to like, what? No, I hate that. So I stopped watching just out of principle, I guess, and also because it was just so annoying. So, but Leanne like tagged so many. Dave Neal was in this. Popcorn Planet, Dana Bowling, and then a couple of others that I don't know. Maybe I should look into. Spiritual Shift and All About TRH. Um, so she says that basically there was um the text message container that contains the text message graphics have something that's say bird kit body g whatever 2024 October 31st message embed generator. My take on this, unlike the images, and people have said, well, the images were also, it's not the image date, but it's more so uh the container of the image, the folder that held the images, which isn't, I mean, it's not better for them, right? It still says that something was coming. And the same thing with this, like it still says that they knew as early as October 31st that something was coming. Um as like text messages, something was coming. Did they get the complaint that early? Very likely not. I don't think so. But did they get the text messages that early? Maybe they just knew they were coming. And that's, I think, a big issue as far as like the legal part of things is like, well, did you just, well, I mean, I don't know, because either way, if you knew that they were coming, you knew they were coming. But if they didn't have the text messages in October or even that early December or whatever, and they just got everything. Maybe they had to fact check. I don't know. I'm curious what they'll say that it took them so long to contact Baldoni's team. Um, but this to me doesn't look like these text messages were created then. That they had these text messages, but and I'm not a I lightly have coded. I know HTML a little bit, but not this much, not this in depth. And it looks to me though that it was like they were anticipating they created the space for it, but it does not look good. And then there was a podcast episode or yeah, podcast episode New York Times did with Megan Twohey and I don't know, Popcorn Planet and Andy, he had some thoughts and he had beard lawyer or something on and they were talking and I think that they misheard what she was saying. I don't think she incriminated herself more or the New York Times more or that she gave Baldoni anything but maybe some things that to comb through that maybe they can find. But in what he had shared, and I didn't listen, Jersey Flaw also mentioned the podcast, and she's rightly mad at New York Times and just is just furious around that whole thing because she was mentioned, she was not asked to comment about it or if she was involved in order to deny that, and then they basically said, "Hey, sorry, of course, not taking accountability, probably for legal reasons in their mind, but to not be sued, but saying, oh, well, we changed it to make it more clear that you weren't hired to do what you did." Um, but her picture is in there, and she probably could sue. But I think she doesn't have that much leg to stand on. But that's not fair, because she was dragged through so much because of that. So yeah, but they did say in that podcast snippet that I heard, do we know actually if online backlash is due to the team? I think they were reading the text message or they were reflecting on the text message as the New York Times team. And Megan said, we don't know how much it was authentic and how much it was seeded or amplified. And then talked about the 14-hour, here, this is what we have. This is going out tomorrow in 14 hours. Respond to this. As she says, they said they denied it. They said it was false. The claim was false. However, they did not, to Megan's like response to their response, they did not address specific things that were false, did not agree to interviews or provide further information. I would I think in the email they said, and I do have the lawsuit pulled up, but I thought in the email they had said something like, "Yeah, it's false. We need more time." But maybe I'm forgetting. And it's such a long. I wish they would have like sections, like bolded out like a presentation, like just a plain page of section 2, allegation number 2 or whatever. Um, because it's so much. Okay, getting to the PR part of things. I just need that email sent. No, this is that other one. Blah, blah, blah. Stephanie Jones. Okay, this is taking too long right now. I don't know. I'll come back to that. But that's what I remember. Like they did request for more time or saying like, yeah, we because it's a lot to reply to, and also it's not like how would you even reply in 14 hours? Like you have to wrap your mind. These are such like tough allegations and things. Like this might be legal at this time, but I wonder if this lawsuit will change that. Because I think 14 hours, even though you're like, yeah, get the breaking news, but you should have very well stated that this is the information you received and you're still fact checking or something at least. So I mean, in an ideal world, they would have like a much more grace period in that for the people, for everyone involved, and for them to fact check. But I also wonder, not only, as people are saying, were they in cahoots, etc., but did Blake and Ryan, did their side pressure New York Times saying, "Hey, like, if you don't post this tomorrow, we're going to go to another outlet and they're going to have the first story." I don't know why I've not heard that said before so far, 'cause, um, yeah, everyone's, like, kind of thinking more along the lines of, they're, like, equally evil or whatever. But, hmm. Anyways, okay, so with, Dr. Leslie Dobson, TikToker, therapist, apparently. So I was on the page of Blake's text message. Some of us, me, I've not reread this on any of my videos because we can all see it. We probably all have it saved, or we can, remember what it was. Um, but a lot of people are going through it, or at least pulling it up, and I don't have knowledge yet on how to best do that right now. And I'll read that a little later, but when I first read it, I thought, "Ooh, this sounds like love bombing." Well, Dr. Leslie Dobson said his voice note was love bombing. And I don't think, if I play it, I don't think that you'll be able to hear it right. I'm afraid that it's going to distort with sound and stuff. So I'll read like her captions. She basically said she's saying, "I literally feel nauseous over that voicemail that Justin Baldoni's team just leaked." And I'll include the link, obviously, to her video below once this is done. "That was so performative, so intrusive, leaving a voicemail for somebody with 4 babies. Again, context matters a lot. Also, I'll pull this text message. Blake Lively sent a text at 9:54. Justin replied at 10:51, and Blake sent another text at 1 a.m. 49. 1:49. Basically close to 2. 10 minutes before 2 a.m. And then it's interesting because what? Okay, this is blurry. I might also have, like, even I might have some bad news all around, like, just more confusion. This is just so confusing. Um, so apparently her text, as for Ryan, for, Taylor or whoever, and Ryan and another person for that matter, I'm the luckiest one, on the planet to have them as the. So the Khaleesi thing came after the voice note, it seems, because that was sent at 2:44 a.m. after his voice note, right? If he says that he sent it at 2 a.m., we don't have the exact screenshot of that too. Um, and but she already had sent, the "we're in this together. We are two of the most determined people I know," and blah blah blah. "I have no motives except for you to win," et cetera, et cetera. Um, yeah, so I don't know. It's a little confusing on the timeline. But anyways, so this is Dr. Leslie's Dobson's, and I sometimes I wonder now what doctor people are. Are they, because people can be doctors just for having um so many doctor, they should have different titles for the different things. But anyways, so yeah, somebody with 4 babies at 2 a.m., that your voice is heard because you don't want to talk to him, or what. So you're leaving a voicemail for somebody with 4 babies at 2 a.m. to make sure that your voice is heard because you don't want to talk, or he certainly got his way right in there into her phone. Right. Show of hands to yourself, I guess, like, do we know how text and voice notes and all this works, right? Like that's why you don't call someone, so you don't bother them, so eventually when they have time they can get to that voice note or text message. So yeah. And then she goes on to say, and then to hear his voice for that long, someone's unhealed. Tone of his voice, actually his tone of his voice was it varied, and like she says later, the lack of fluctuation, and actually had a lot of fluctuation. His voice was very kind, at times was more agitated. His empathy showed through, his like emotions showed through. So yeah, the tone of his voice was just really stable and secure. It wasn't monotonous, it wasn't um pressurizing, it wasn't like forceful or whatever, it wasn't manipulative, like mesmerizing or whatever. Yeah. The odd devotion to the togetherness is, this is like again, this is the captions that I'm reading. I don't even understand what this means. The odd devotion to togetherness. The like what This is one of those moments when I'm going to be a human and I'm going to just really speak out from emotion and perspective, more less objectively than other times, because this got to me so much. What world is she living in? What is she talking about? The odd devotion to togetherness, or the pairing of them, made me so uncomfortable. They're freaking two actors, that they're working even more than just actors. They're trying to, figure out this one scene. That's what this whole text message was about, collaboration and all this stuff. And she, like, Blake wanted to collaborate more than she was hired on to do. And so it's not like he pulled her in like, "Oh, are you sure you don't want to collaborate more or whatever?" What is she talking about? Made me so uncomfortable. She goes on. I don't know if have you ever been in a relationship where that call to emotion that we should all be wary of, that call to emotion, and I'll include the link to Dr. Amud, I think is her name, but I'll link, because she's like, here's what how to spot manipulation, and emotion was, I think, at the end. That call to emotions, like, you've felt this way, you've had sh happen to you in this way, like that, calling people to your side based on their experience, but calling to their emotion and trauma. She did exactly the same thing, which is why, in my completely personal opinion, I feel like she should have, like, because therapists are, unless she's like just a coach or whatever, there's a body that regulates things. And sorry, I don't have off the top of my head right now, the memory of the exact, but basically she should be investigated as a therapist for saying things like this, I believe. But this is my opinion, and I don't think they go into that unless one of her clients makes that dispute to that board, and they look into it and they can find whatever, but yeah, like to say, hey, this is what I hear. She also, it doesn't really come across, she doesn't really say too much like, this is what I hear from this. um but yeah, to say, to call people that experience something traumatic to be on your side, to prove your point, is something that a therapist publicly should. There's ways that people have said this, in terms of like, if you've ever been in this situation, this is what, I don't know, the way that she's doing it is like just pure emotion recalling. Love to hear that. Talk about gaslighting, because she, oh my gosh, my thing is not working anymore. um where you've experienced this for someone to do that. I would love to hear. There was gaslighting from Justin, she claims. Where was Justin's gaslighting? Again, I'm sorry about like this just bad bad angle and everything. And this is what Dave Neal was also saying, like, would love to hear, where she was hearing this gaslighting. Um and then triangulation is where I stopped. I haven't really read or heard it more than this, because this is where I was like, no, I need to get on a video, on a live, something or another, um to talk about this. So triangulation, I spoke about this in my I think in the is Blake, a narcissist or whatever video. And I think in that video, but triangulation is literally what Blake did with her dragons, mentioning them, the fact that Ryan was there at this meeting, the fact that Taylor came in, whether she did or didn't know that was what it was going to be about or whatever. And I actually have to like switch. I need to get to a power source. But yeah, and it's great having a laptop. But that's triangulation. I didn't hear where Justin was triangulating. He didn't triangulate at all, right? He said he was sorry for the people that made her, didn't like validate her, etc., etc. Where was the triangulation? Who did he bring in? Like, look what, because like triangulation is, like an example of it is Darcy and Stacy. I was watching that a long time ago, and that's how I learned about this whole concept. It's like bringing in your friend, either into the problem or whatever, to like prove your point, to make you feel like you're right in the right or whatever. So it would be like, if Justin was saying something, well, so and so, this producer, this director told me that this doesn't happen, or um I don't know, he didn't mention anyone else from his side to prove his point, right? Maybe I forgot, but yeah, I didn't hear that at all. It was her that mentioned all of these producers and directors that um didn't give her a chance. She mentioned Ryan and Taylor as, her dragons, the people that stand up for her. She triangulated. Blake Lively triangulated. Also, triangulation isn't evil. It's not, you know, everyone triangulates. Everyone triangulates, and it's actually something to work through and understand and, acknowledge and actually do the hard work to not triangulate, because that's what we often learn and are taught. Because it's like, yeah, wait, my friend, her opinion, his opinion, you know or like you go to that person and tell your story to. That's triangulation. Anytime that we're going to family or friends or our partner to talk about, like, oh, this coworker at work, or my partner this, or my friend this, like, that is triangulation. But it's a different, it's like, there's that, or the triangulation is literally like mentioning them to another person too, I believe. But yeah, it was minimizing, extreme love bombing. She claims there was a push towards a honeymoon period. I'm sorry, I did read up to this point. I literally started laughing out loud, like that laugh where you're like, oh crap, this crap is out there and people are actually learning from this lady, from this person. Just really wrong knowledge. Also, it doesn't make any sense. What? There's a strong push or whatever for or towards the honeymoon period. What does that even mean? I'm sorry, because I've studied Attachments, an integrated attachment style from Thais Gibson, and she talks about the different stages of relationships. I've heard a lot about all the honeymoon stages and the power struggle stages and all the stages. I mean, there's only one stage of those, and I'm just at a loss of like words or thoughts of how I can't even argue this because I it doesn't even make sense. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. But like literally it doesn't make sense. It's like saying the square is of course a circle. You know, there was a dream of them together. There was a joke. W- The dream together is there was no dream. No one dreamt of each other in this voice note or the text messages. No one said, I had a dream about you last night or about us like making this movie happen or something. I again, to my knowledge, to my recollection, um, like what was she saying? Is she saying like there's like this aspirational dream, like oh, like it's going to be, we're going to make a hopefully a great movie. Is that what she's saying? They both said that. Blake actually said it first, but also they both said that. And again, doesn't make sense. But the honeymoon part is like really the one part that doesn't even make sense. It's not even like you interpreted it the wrong way and it's the other way around. Like it just doesn't belong in here at all. But maybe she just needs to maybe she had a thought in her mind about that she just didn't, explain better about explicit things like juices. She made this sound like that Melanie King lady. Like I said, it depends on how you want to hear that. Um, my first instinct with that is, well, because of how we talk about this and how people talk about this case, my mind did go to it being, dirty in this sense. But I also if this case wasn't happening, my initial thought would go to like, I don't know, just gross, I don't know, throwing up or something. I don't even know. I don't even know. Like not the S word. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I don't know what's allowed to be said or all that. He seemed very comfortable apologizing. How dare he? How dare he feel comfortable apologizing? We should all be uncomfortable apologizing. We should all just I'm sorry. I'm reacting in real time, so things might make more sense later, but they're not so far. So far it's worse and worse and worse. So far they make less and less sense. But how dare someone work on themselves and be able to apologize and apologize like a true apology? How odd, how creepy is that? Sorry. Now I kind of understand Andy when he reacts like live on air to some of these things. And it's like sometimes it's just you have to laugh and you laugh because you're like nervous, like crap, this is going out into the world and it's going to hurt people, it's going to harm people. Because this is maybe the first time they learn some of this or whatever and apply it to their own lives, because the case, whatever. But it's also laughing because it's just absolutely ridiculous. And part of you also feels like, no, this doesn't even make sense. No one's going to buy this too. It's just, yeah. Or like, you have to laugh because if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. And then she goes on, and it seems like he's been doing it a lot and has done it a lot in the past to apologize for. And again, she is not wanting this voicemail. What the heck? How do you know what she wanted? He talks that they talk through text messages and voicemails or voice notes. Why is everyone calling this a voicemail? This is a voice note. Do we not know lingo? Um, but yeah, anyways, so again, someone taking ownership of past mistakes and growing from that, owning up to things, taking accountability is wrong because no one is perfect. I'm sorry, Blake, him, Ryan, no one is perfect. I'm sure she is not perfect, that she never had things, a lot of things to take accountability for, and even say retrospectively, like, yeah, I'm not perfect and I make mistakes but I always apologize. I always like own up to it. That's literally what he said. And she's turning this around. This is supposed to be a therapist. This is supposed to be a psychologist, right? And someone who is helping other people like heal, and she's doing a lot of harm. This is it's painful to see this. Um yeah, she's not wanting the voicemail. He's saying he's sending it because she's not communicating with him. Made up. I just had a moment of this needs to be reported and taken down. There's free speech, and then there's like misinformation when you're blatantly lying. I mean, this is literally a lie. A lot of up to this point was sorry, again, you're seeing my like actual reaction live. Um Up to this point, it's like just her interpretation, maybe using it for her, social media benefit or sensationalism or whatever. But it's not literally changing facts. So again, I'll include the link to the lawsuit too. The text messages show on that day, um, she sent him. Oh, okay, wait. So hold on. Okay, so on that day at 9:54, she sends him like, "Hey, can you send me this FedEx thing?" Whatever. I think it's final draft. I think that clicked finally. I think that's what that means. I'm not sure. At 10:51, he replies, really excited, but that didn't have to happen, blah blah. And then she writes at 4:15, that's very appreciated, means a lot. And she goes into a longer text. He sends the voice note after that on that same day, 4:15, April 15th, 2023, in the morning, but it was like the night of the 14th. She sends the first message after he sent it at 11 o'clock. She sends the first message at 1:49 a.m. And then Justin Baldoni, sends his voice note at 2 a.m., 2-ish, whatever. Or maybe even later, because like it seems like she continued. I don't know. It seems like he also did a little bit of cutting up, or I don't know. But yeah. So um okay, let's not analyze the text message. That's for another time. But literally, this Dr. Leslie Dobson, I don't think this barring is the doctor thing, right? But she needs to be looked into, because like to I, I just worry to blatantly lie and make up a scenario when you have the proof right there. You have the proof online. We all have had access to these text messages and Blake's lawsuit, his lawsuit. We have so much information right now. For her to blatantly mislook or not look into that, or make things up knowing and having read and whatever, all that stuff. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she's just like hearing this voice note, like, oh, I have thoughts about that, without having any of the context. But literally, we can see Blake Lively sent him a text message at 1:49. He replied at around 2 after that, sometimes after 2 a.m. So for Dr. Leslie, can't even call her doctor anymore, honestly. And that's not petty. That's just I just don't know how to handle this right now, to be honest. I don't know my emotions. I don't know how to handle this. Um he's sending this voice note, is what she's claiming, because Blake Lively is not communicating with him. Is Do I need to say it again? It's an actual lie. It's an actual made up thing that she's saying, that this Leslie Dobson is saying. Wow. And then line me up. Probably she said something else. Captions, you know. I want all of Blake Lively, like, oh yeah, he said that, and then I said that. That doesn't sound good, you know. And to use both her names. Wait, what? Hold on, I'm gonna play this. Sorry if it's like going to distort a little bit. I want Blake Lively, like, and to use both her names. Oh, my stomach. What? I'm always like conscious when I'm like live and when like this is my third one or whatever only, but like, you know, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm hearing this in real time and I'm just, uh, I don't know how to react to that. Again, what? Talk about gaslighting. Not gaslighting, but like something because wait, to use both of her names, Blake and Lively? Like, oh my gosh. Wait, is that a thing that I'm not aware of? Um, Jennifer. Okay, you couldn't hear. Okay. I'll read in a second. I think it's logical he saved it. Who wouldn't preserve oral communication in delicate situations? Yeah, I heard lots of people think I save all my text messages and stuff, and I don't think of them like, oh, I'm going to have any lawsuit or anything. I just save them. I'm like also a saver, but yeah, in situations like this, yeah, save everything you can because you don't know who is going to like claim something, especially workplace stuff. Like you need to have all your receipts as much as you can and need to communicate in writing as much as you can or like voice note or something that's able to be like saved, video, whatever, in work situations. Because yeah, things can be claimed, you know. So he was saying, or she, Dr. Leslie Dobson was saying that he's sending it because, she's not communicating with him, uh, and it lines up to her or something that him saying, "I want all of Blake Lively," like, to use both of her names, that I was trying to replicate her tone of voice. Like, him saying, "I want all of Blake Lively," not just, "I want all of Blake," is somehow mind-blowing to her because she has, like, her hand like this. Sorry, again, I'm going to include the link, at the end of this live. Um, but yeah, Dr. Leslie Dobson also, if you want to look up TikTok, because you can watch TikToks on this browser, which also takes information. So I don't know. Yeah, all that stuff. Um, Little spin that Candace Owens and others have not. I'm gonna say that Justin was going after her, after Blake, and she wanted nothing to do with, and Ryan Reynolds was off upset. He is demonstrating a cycle, you know, the cycle. Wow. This just disturbed me so much. She's a forensic psychologist. I wanna see, like, where she graduated from and if she has an actual degree and in what, because that was just wrong on so many level. Yeah, oh my god, they grasp at straws. This is more than grasping at straws. This is I'm being, you know, maybe too emotional right now. Um, according to her or whatever, not emotional enough. I don't even know what she would label me as, but again, this is when I hear this, I kind of stop thinking about the case and I start thinking about all the people that are listening to her for advice about psychology, about their life, about their relationships, their family relationships, their friendships or romantic, that, you know, and just learning how to heal, etc. And for her to, again, like, yes, she misrepresented this whole thing completely. She literally lied. She literally, well, okay, excuse me, we don't know if she lied, if because that means she knew and she chose to say something differently, or she just, but she made up things, whether that was a lie or not. It's just like, again, it just worries me for the people that she's supposedly helping or they're looking up to her. um and more than anything, this is really disturbing. I don't know. Yeah, she gets so much wrong, and, like, she doesn't it also just sounds like she doesn't know anything, like, she got everything wrong. Why are we even talking about her? But yeah, I found her through Dave Neal's video that he was talking about it, and in that under that video, there's so many comments, like, as a forensic or as not a forensic, what did they say, as a clinical psychologist, as a psychologist working with trauma survivors, around these topics, et cetera, as this kind of psychologist, as this clinician or clinical psychologist, like, she is wrong. And it's like, but those voices don't get heard because they don't have that TikTok following, probably, and that's like the thing with, be very careful what you see and what you hear and where you're learning from. Be very careful where you're learning from, because then you can hear or see anything and you can decide and you can have a critical eye to it and a critical ear and mind. But like, make sure you learn from, like, real veritable sources. And yeah, I get, like, when with certain things it's hard to know what those are anymore and so forth, but I mean, with psychology, yeah, it's hard because no one, like, just can. I mean, you can go and just look things up, look books up, read what Sigmund Freud said, which, I can talk about how that was kind of miscommunicated and how people misunderstood some of that stuff. You can look things up, you can read these books, but who's going to actually do that? I speak to my family and friends, like, I don't want to be my own doctor. Like, if I wanted to be a doctor, I would have gone to med school. So my doctor needs to be up to date, with things, and needs to be a good doctor and know their stuff. The same thing with people. Like, you cannot present yourself as a psychologist and say such misinformation. Yeah. Wow. Whew. But again, the highlights of that, Blake sent her message first at 1:49 before the voice note. He sent his voice note after that, and he said, yes, like, sorry, like, I hope I don't wake you, because she could have fallen back asleep, or whatever. Maybe she sent the text message on the way to bed. He didn't know, you know um but yeah, and also to say that she was ignoring him and not in communication, which actually was the other way around, initially. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I guess that did take a bunch of this time, because that was hard to sit through. Because you also think you hear these, like, non-facts being made into facts, being stated as facts and all this stuff, and you're like, I'm only one voice with, a few people that watch my videos and my channel and all that stuff, and you have no power to, like, call someone out. And Dave has a lot more people, and people, I wonder if people from there have reported her stuff, because I mean, again, to have an opinion, everyone's entitled to an opinion. You can say stupid stuff, you can make up stuff. She could have said all of this in her opinion. She didn't say it as an opinion, though. And you do have to be careful. You do have to state, hey, this is my opinion, and you have to restate it. I believe in that, because there's so much misinformation and so many people that click in and out, and they just take your word or whatever for it. And yeah, I don't want people to take my word for it just because it's my word, because who am I? I'm just another human being. Some things I know more than some other people, but other people might know more about the same things than I do, even, and all this stuff, and I could be wrong. So be careful with what you see. So I'm going to include her link. I'm going to include the Taylor Swift link, and I'm going to include the Dr. Amen Kaur. I'm sorry, I combined her first initial and last name. Dr. Amen Kaur. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm sorry, but she's from England, and she talked about a couple of things. I'm going to include the video that I included on Dave Neal's, in my comment on his video, that talks about once you know this, manipulation becomes obvious because it applies to how you see this other doctor, Leslie, whatever, her video, how you see us, me, everyone else, and all the media, and how you see Blake and how you see Justin and their teams. I loved how she went into a pretty easy to follow kind of checklist of manipulation. Like, check in with yourself on these things. Is that foolproof? Probably not. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it's a very, 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 very solid place to start. So I think I'm gonna end it there, and I'm gonna cover Rachel and Matt. I'm sorry, I already made the thumbnail and everything. I'm gonna cover them later because my stomach is in a really bad shape these last 2 days, and it's really hurting. And you've heard me talk for quite a bit, and maybe it's nice to kind of separate the two topics too. But yeah, that one I have, like I said, I have some unpopular beliefs and opinions probably and thoughts on the Rachel and Matt thing. Um, and if you don't know, it probably doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It's just relationship stuff and a breakup and 90, not 90 days, sorry, Bachelor. I haven't watched The Bachelor, I think, since their season or the season after that. I forget. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm displaced from that world, but I love them together and they're an interesting case, so to speak. So tune into that around probably 4 o'clock or so. I'll get into that and everything else. Yeah. Thank you for being here once again. I'm always like so moved. It might be so stupid, I don't know, but I'm always moved and so deeply grateful for everyone that like Jennifer that is in the chat and everyone that texts or messages or whatever, comments. Please subscribe. That's like really awesome as I see people subscribe, and there's so many that are not subscribed. Maybe you haven't decided. I haven't made that much, and you're like, I don't know how to feel about this lady. I don't know, I don't know. But if you like the content, subscribe, comment. To me, it's more important that people comment because I love conversations. And be careful out there with all this misinformation and be careful. Like I said, if people are appealing to your emotion and they're trying to play on your trauma, whatever that is, or any trigger, anything that like, oh my gosh, yeah, that hurts, even to think about, think twice in believing that. Think twice in just taking it without sitting and being critical about it. But yeah, have a wonderful day and I'll see you later if I see you later. If not, have a wonderful day. Bye.